We're joined by Scobie, as they call you, Ketterick from the Quay.
Yeah.
You know this man for a long time.
I know Greg probably for the last, I'd say 30 odd years, coming to Westport for the fishing, Ollie, and
I knew him when he was a boy.
You know me as a boy, it is, yeah.
yeah, he was a good man for advice on fishing down the bay. You know, when he started coming, he'd be helping everybody with a few traces and a bit of gear and, you know, all that kind of stuff, like, you know, that anybody would require for the day's fishing.
You must have been very young then, were you?
And I'd be
Roughly.
I'd been probably 20.
Well, you'd be 20.
Celebrated the birthday last weekend.
Okay.
That was probably one of the reasons Greg stayed on in Westport to celebrate the birthday, you know. And then 2 weeks ago, was the last Sunday week, we fished my father's competition, Patsy's,
Yep.
which was in his 6th year. So Greg has been coming. He hasn't missed any of those competitions since it started back in, was it 2013.
And he used to stay with you in the house?
Greg stayed with us, so he did, yeah. And he came, as he said earlier on, he'd his B&B for, what was it, 20, 15 years, was it,
Oh
you
no,
said?
there were between 18 and 20 years at the Kettericks.
Did you have a boat?
Spoiled.
Spoiled, were you? You were well fed, were you?
Oh. With Patrick around?
And you had the inside track.
Oh yes.
And you used to go out fishing that time, you used to?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Did you have your own boat?
No, well, I'll go back probably 40, 50 years ago, my uncle Sean, he was big into the fishing, so he'd have been one of the top members of the Westport Sea Angling Club.
he looks after the club as well.
Yeah, Dad would have been, he was involved with the fishing with him, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So he was, and most Sundays we'd be going down the bay for a spin. So we would, and bit of crack to see what was happening, you know. And it's mighty to get a good day down the bay. And as I said, we were fishing there 2 weeks ago, and there was serious fishing. There was 50 anglers down for Patsy's competition, and there was everything from dogfish to bullhuss, ray. There was one skate caught on the White Seahorse, skipper by Charlie O'Malley, and a guy called Tommy Moran from Mill Street, he caught that skate, so he did. Lucky to get him because the rod broke on him in the process of hauling up the fish, but as long as he breaks the surface up, as long as he breaks the surface, you get the points.
Oh, okay, yeah.
A lot of people like to kind of catch them and bring them in on board and measure them up and
Get the photograph.
get the right facts on them, on the fish, and those fish they're tagged then, like, you know, they're all tagged, so they're.
And has the fishing improved in the last few years now, do you think? With conservation?
No, fishing has dwindled a lot, so it has, you know.
But you have a conservation going on, you put them all back and all that, don't you?
Oh yes, yeah.
Has that helped, do you think? Or would it be a lot worse if you didn't do it?
Yeah.
And most of us use barbless hooks now.
Yeah.
It's easier to get the hooks out of the fish.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, get the hooks out of their mouths, you know.
And how many, do you remember the boat and the boat owners down here in your time?
I know a majority of them, like, you know, the Martin O'Donnell's and
Martin O'Donnell, which one he had the fin on, was it?
Martin had the fin on, yeah.
Yeah, Reg had?
Reg had the Lady Helen.
He still has.
Yeah, still has the Lady Helen. Padraic Conlon was on, well, he had the
Marianne.
Restrict boat there for a few years.
The Marianne, did he?
Could have been the Marianne.
The two, yeah. There was a speedboat, that was a speedboat, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He made it himself, I think, did he?
He could have.
Yeah.
Seahorse.
Then you had the White Seahorse here, Vinnie Keogh's boat.
That's still here?
Yeah,
Oh,
still
yes.
down to Quay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's then you have Joe Gibbons from Innishlyer. Well, he had another boat, so he had his own boat, and then he bought Martin O'Donnell's boat to fin on, which he skippers today now for all our competitions that we have. Like we'd have what 4 or 5 competitions within the year between out of the Allergan Sea Angling Club.
Any other ones?
Out of Allergan.
No, any others boats you can remember who owned what?
Just trying to think now, Ollie. You know,
There was a grant scheme there one time when there were a lot of boats bought that time. Remember board false grants?
yeah.
Or?
Yeah, we did have you'd have, you know, a lot of boats come up the bay. You have Patrick Gavin, you have, as I said, Joe Gibbons, you have
Mary Gavin?
you have Mary, yeah. Neil O'Boyle there, you have Inish Shoe. So probably between our Westport and Newport, you'd have maybe 10 boats, you know.
At least.
Yeah.
You know, and then if you want other boats, you have to go further afield to Clare Island or Inishturk.
And has the Quay changed much in your time now?
Oh, the Quay has really changed, like, you know, since I was a young lad coming around here, you know, and, you know, I remember McAlear's, you know, the sheepskin place.
I remember it well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take a deep
McAleer.
breath.
Oh, yeah, take a deep breath, is right.
Yeah.
And, you had McAleers, all that area there. My auntie,
Well, the warehouses, yeah, the old warehouses, yeah.
they were old warehouses, yeah, yeah. Then my auntie had a B&B house there, Mary McGrail, just beside the Helm. So she ran it there for years. So that was all kind of bought up then, probably maybe 20, 30 years ago, probably, you know. And McAleers was scooped up, and these guys came in then, and they built the harbour mills. You know, so it's just, the quay has really changed. You know,
Well, it's beautiful now, isn't it?
it's
Beautiful,
fantastic, like, you know, and it's good to see it. You know,
What restaurants were down there at that time?
restaurants, well, the only restaurant really at the quay was the Quay Cottage and the Chalet Swiss. That was basically it, Holly, you know.
But that's good.
Oh, the Asgard, sorry, you had the
Asgard.
Asgard, yeah. You had,
That's good as well.
And who owned them places? And
well, Michael Cadden was in the Asgard. Colin Cronin actually was in the Towers. He was doing a bit of bar food.
Yeah.
So he's gone. He's out in the Sheebee now. So here's Colin. Then the Helm started doing a bit of food. And you have
who was in the Helm over your time now? Can you remember?
Thank you.
no, Vinny. Like,
Vinny, the last one, or you worked
30
back?
years ago,
Could you work back from that now?
Tony
Then?
Tabia was in it.
Oh,
for-
Tony Tabia?
The Italian lad, yeah.
Tony, yeah.
Tabia was there.
Tony, yeah.
And I remember Jim Hogan had it for a stint. Mervyn Kennedy, he served a few years in it.
Yeah.
And I think Vinny was the next man then that took it on. So Vinny kind of brought it from strength to strength.
Stephen Walsh had it, didn't he?
Who?
Stephen Walsh.
Stephen, I don't remember.
He had a while, I think.
Yeah.
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 He put the John McBride pictures into it, Anko.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
And you said, was Cafola's on there? You said, I heard you saying a while ago.
Cafola's, yeah, they opened a small little chip shop there probably about 30 odd years ago.
Mm.
Yeah, they only had maybe 2 or 3 seasons.
And which premises was that in?
It was kind of like a house beside the Helm on the hotel side. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I don't know who owned it really.
Who's there now?
That's all kind of part of the Helm and the Creel now today. So
It's the Creel, is it?
the Creel, yeah, the Creel would be kind of that.
The one as well at the time, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
And who were the characters down here then?
all characters. You had some serious characters at the quay.
Your father for a start, didn't he?
Well,
Yeah,
you
he
had
was-
Patsy and all his buddies. You had Frank Gillivan.
Oh, Charlie.
You had Charlie O'Malley, a man that was it Charlie in the Helm, or the Asgard, Charlie. Martin O'Donnell, Jimmy Burke, Tommy Burke.
Tony Burke.
You know, all them lads would be kind of connected with the
Arthur McAvoy.
Arthur McAvoy, Dingy.
Yeah,
as
Dingy
we
as well,
knew him. Yeah.
Did he have a boat?
Dingy had a small little outboard.
Dinghy.
Outboard, yeah.
Dinghy as well, that's why
Dingy, yeah. And he had a dog called Grouse in as well.
Gross.
Grouse, yeah. But there was some good characters at the quay, like, you know, and they've all kind of passed on now, so they have, and
The building behind you has changed.
it has, yeah.
Yeah. That was the customs place, was it?
That's the customs house,
No,
yeah.
it
yeah.
was a customs house.
Customs house, yeah.
Customs
That's what it was,
house,
yeah.
And this little place down here, what was this for? The little harbour,
It's
is
kind
it?
of a little slipway, so is what we're standing on here until they put in the new one up further by the Quay Cottage.
Because this is the main one at one time, was
This
it?
used to be the main one, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And we have the idle wall behind you, I think,
it's
have
the
we?
idle wall, yeah, where anyone that was idle years and years ago and they wanted a job for the day, this is where they hung out, and guys came and picked them up and they got a few pounds for their day's pay.
I heard they were very well paid, were they?
Well, they got, might have been thousands, you know, or...
Well, they reckon they were better paid than the bankers, didn't they? Have you ever heard that?
They could have been, like, you know, but they were happy out, like, you know, and
Yeah.
well, many's a person sat on this idle wall here behind us,
Yeah.
you know, which is...
They still sit there.
And they still sit there.
yeah.
They still sit there, you know, you'd have, you know, a few of the old stock that are left around
Yeah.
Westport, you know, you'd Paddy Morden and Pat Murphy up the road here, you know, and you'd always see the lads there sitting on it, you know, so...
They were all young fellas and you started out, weren't they?
They're all youngsters, is right, like, you know.
Time is moving on.
Time is moving, is right,
Yeah.
Paddy, you know, so...
Yeah. Have you seen much changes in Westport Town, Greg, now since you came here?
Since 79 there's been big changes.
What was the biggest one you've noticed?
Oh, the buildings.
The buildings.
I mean, see, they were the old warehouses. Look at them now. It's absolutely fabulous.
And do you think it's better than it was?
Oh yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yes.
It was a bit grotty one time, wasn't it?
Well, I wouldn't say grotty.
Yeah, well,
It's improved.
it's certainly improved.
Definitely improved.
It's fantastic now. Do you follow the activity in Westport now? Do you get the Mayo News at home or anything like that?
I get it sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes I send me the Mayo News. But I think I'll be subscribing to it now.
You get it online now.
I'll get the Mayo News because it's a really lovely paper.
Lovely local paper, yeah.
All it is, yeah. The
That's
Mayo
great.
News is very good. Like you have all the anything that's going on.
Full of information.
Yeah,
It's about 120 years old, and or more even than that now, yeah.
yeah.
It's a diary of Westport that I always say back
true,
over the
yeah.
years. Yeah. Did you get your photo? Did you ever get your photograph in it? I bet you did.
Well, at the presentations
That's right. Yeah.
to the Westport International,
Yeah.
I had a few because I gave some prizes as well and some trophies. I gave them the Skipper's Trophy.
Hmm.
I love the cup.
Yeah, so
Just
yeah.
putting a wee bit back.
Fair play. Did you ever be involved, or were you ever in the Angling Centre down there when it was down there?
Enough said about that the better.
Well, go on to say it. Did you like it?
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. It was kind of the centre of the quay down there, wasn't it?
Oh, that
That's where the anglers went and told all the big stories.
They got bigger as the night
The
went
one
on.
that got away,
The one
and
that
things
got-
like that. Oh, it was great. And the entertainment was good as well. We used to get some good entertainment.
And who was entertaining down there?
Oh, we had country western,
Yeah.
Irish dancing,
Mm.
come as you go. Oh, pots and pots of things.
Oh yeah, it was a busy spot, Ali. Like like 30 years ago, it was very busy. I remember the discos down there on a Thursday night, and you could have ended up with 200 people in there.
Yeah.
As long as you remember,
Bouncing.
as long as you remember off the club, you were sound.
Or not, sometimes.
Or not.
You could
yeah.
sneak in sometimes.
Well, you could sneak in. Yeah, but, I don't know. You weren't robbed, like and
Yeah.
It was nice. It was good to see it, but that all kind of changed. Whatever happened, I think there was
It kind of stopped, didn't
a
it?
lot of
It just-
people kind of involved with it, and
Yeah.
Too many.
too many. You see, and these places kind of.
There was too many chiefs and not enough Indians.
Yeah, but lots of these things they run their course, don't they? And then sometimes people will bring them back and rejuvenate them. But
Well,
sometimes
yeah.
Eagle boxers have got it, and I think they'll be there to stay.
the boxers, yes.
Yeah,
Different juice, yeah.
There's a few places, there's a few little units in it now, I think, Ollie. The boxing club are there, and I think there's a couple of offices upstairs, So
Yeah.
it's nice to see it in use, do it that way. It'd be worse if it was derelict,
Do you miss the mill? The Pollocksons?
I miss the old fella that stayed in the mill.
Who was that?
Oh, I don't know. I think he came from Dublin. A great big ginger beard and a long brown coat
Oh, John Murphy.
and a small terrier dog.
That's John Murphy, yeah.
A gentleman.
I never knew he stayed there.
No, this is another guy, Ollie.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is
this fella, maybe less than 10 years ago, he was kind of just sleeping rough down there,
Okay, yeah.
John Murphy was up the quay here by across from the
but
Woods
this-
Hotel. John,
When we
that was
came-
a man with the bike,
When we came in, he used to come down to the quay and say, "Could you spare 2 fish?" He only wanted was 2 mackerel.
Two mackerel.
I says, "How many do you want?" "Oh, just 2. One for me and one for the dog."
One for the dog. Never knew dog eat fish. Dogs eat fish.
Would they would?
I never
Oh,
saw,
yeah,
never
yeah.
saw that, yeah.
As
Yeah.
long as you took the bones out of them.
Okay, yeah. So you had a nice time here.
Oh,
And you're still having a nice time here.
God's own country.
God's own country. Beautiful
Yeah.
place, yeah.
Yeah, so he hits back now tomorrow morning, Ollie. He'll get the 7 o'clock train out of Westport, Dublin.
7:15.
7:15.
15, yeah.
Yep.
Well, the best of luck. Enjoy the trip.
Oh, well.
And hopefully you'll be back next year again.
Oh,
You can't break the
God
run
willing.
now, yeah.
God willing.